What's going on, guys? It's me, Barnesy, back with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my take on if the NHL had a March Madness bracket. Obviously, the college March Madness is going on right now. It's going crazy, so many upsets. And so I just thought, good way to entertain people. Why don't I give an NHL take on it? And it turned out pretty crazy. So if you enjoy this type of content, as always, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe with post notifications on. It's a great way to help support me and my channel. And as always, go to my socials. They'll be in the links down below. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, guys, so look at this bracket at first. Obviously, it might be a bit overwhelming. Of course, seeing all 31 teams up on one small little bracket might be a bit hard to look at. So I'll break it down team for team and make it easier for you guys and give you my picks. So beginning this off, I'll start with the East Division, and our first matchup would be the number 1 seed Washington Capitals against the number 8 seed Buffalo Sabres. I think the Capitals will completely steamroll this. The Sabres have lost 14 straight, and their guys just are not looking good. And the Capitals are super hot, and they're looking really, really good. And so I think the Capitals will win this by a mile. Moving on now to the second matchup, we have the 3rd seed Pittsburgh Penguins going up against the 6th seed New York Rangers. And in this one, I'm going to have to give the edge to the Pittsburgh Penguins. I just think they have more experience here. Of course, Sid and Evgeny Malkin, Brian Rust, Jake Gensel, all those guys know how to dominate in the playoffs, and we've seen them dominate over the last few years. And I think they'll for sure beat out the Rangers, who are really, really hot and cold. Panarin's been going through some stuff. Lafreniere has been off to a slow start. Zibanejad's been awfully inconsistent, and so I think the Penguins could for sure pull ahead in this one. Moving on now, this is probably the closest matchup in the East. It is between the 4th seed Boston Bruins and the 5th seed the Philadelphia Flyers. And in this one, similar to the reason why I picked the Penguins, I'm going to give the edge here to the Bruins on the Flyers. I just think that the experience that Boston brings will just overwhelm the Flyers. Sure, they have a bit of experience, but we've seen the Bruins, their top line has pretty much single-handedly boosted them ahead of the Leafs for many, many years. And so I feel like if they can do that to the Leafs, I think they can definitely do it to the Flyers. But it depends. I could really see this going either way, but I'm going to give it to the Bruins as of right now. And then rounding at the East in the first round, I'm going to give the edge here to the New York Islanders. Obviously, they have a lot of experience. Barry Trotz has been in a playoff setting for a long time. Obviously, winning the Cup with the Caps a couple years ago. And I just can't say the same for the Devils here. They're kind of just newly rebuilding. Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, they're all young guys who haven't really experienced a playoff setting like if there was an NHL March Madness. And so I think that the Islanders would be able to beat this one by a long shot. And then moving into the Sweet 16 round of the bracket, I'm going to stick with the East, and I'm going to go with the good old classic Caps-Penguins matchup. And this is where I think we'll have the first upset. I think the Penguins will pull ahead here. We've seen Sidney Crosby have a bit of a shaky start to the year, and I feel like when it comes to playoff time, he's one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. And I feel like the Caps just don't really have the depth that the Penguins do and the experience that the Penguins do. So ultimately, I think it'll be close, but I think the Penguins will be able to get the edge out of this one. Another intriguing series here, and another upset here, Bruins Islanders. I'm going to give it to the Bruins here, and similar to Penguins, just more experience, more talent, better players. I think that ultimately the Pasternak, Marchand, Bergeron line will just overwhelm the Rangers lines, and so I think it'll be close, similar to the other matchup, but I think the Bruins will be ahead here. And then in the round of 8, another close one here, but I'm going to give it to the Bruins just depth-wise. It'd be a bit weird seeing them come all this way, even though a lot of their guys are older. but I really feel like the experience, and I'll say this a lot in the video, but experience really pays off in settings like these, and that's why I have the Penguins so highly on my list, and why I have to put them ultimately ahead of arguably one of the strongest teams in the league in the Boston Bruins. So they'd be moving on to the round of 4 of the semis. But before I go to any of those matchups, I'm gonna move over to the North Division now. So number 1 seed Leafs as of right now gonna bye. Moving on to the round of 16. Jets Flames. I've got the Jets here due to experience, and a lot of their guys have been proven to excel in the playoffs. Pierre-Luc Dubois obviously dominating and pretty much carrying the Blue Jackets on his back to being the Leafs last year in the playoffs. And I think that'll just be able to overwhelm the Flames. Sure, the Flames are under a new coach. Now they're working harder, but I don't know. I just feel like the Jets have very, very good talent and very, very good depth, and I just think that they can for sure overwhelm the Flames in this matchup. And then next one, I have the Habs against the Vancouver Canucks. And similar to my reasoning behind Winnipeg, the depth that the Canadians have is just unreal. I think they'll be able to for sure dominate the Canucks, who are really kind of a 1 or 2 line show. And so I think I've got the Habs moving on into the round of, what is that? Is that the round of, the round of 16 for sure. And then arguably the most obvious one in the video, Oilers Sens. This is going to be Oilers by a mile. Connor McDavid. Sure, he doesn't have the most experience in the playoffs, but let's be real. There is zero chance the Ottawa Senators will be able to beat the Oilers in this type of setting. So I've got the Oilers moving into the round of 16, and then from here, Leafs Jets, close matchups. We've seen them this year. They've kind of split the season series. However, I've got the Leafs to go ahead. They've got better depth. They've got better stars to perform when they need to. I've seen them how they play around Matthews, but I've got to think Sheldon Keefe will be able to kind of put the Leafs in a scenario and put Auston in a scenario that they'll give him looks and they'll give him opportunities to score. And so I've got to put him there. And then, so of course the Leafs moving into the round of 8 then. And then Habs Oilers. I've actually got the Habs in this one just because, truthfully, the Oilers are really like a 2 or 3 man show. They have no depth. The Habs are the opposite. Sure, they don't really have like one standout star, but all their guys are just like all above average players who have great chemistry and work great as a team. And so I've got to put them over to the round of 8 in this one, which would give us to a good old fashioned Leafs Habs. And sorry Habs fans, but I've got to give the edge here to the Leafs. They just have great depth, better star players. I know that the Habs will try to outwork the Leafs in this one, but I just feel like the Leafs are super efficient when they score and when they play the Habs, and I just feel like they haven't really figured that out yet. The Habs haven't really figured that out yet, and so unless they prove me wrong, I'm going to give the edge to the Leafs here. And then Pens Leafs to move on to the March Madness Finals, and I've got to give this one to the Leafs. I know it's a bit weird for me to choose a team that lost in round 0 last year to make it all the way this high up, but I just feel like the North Division is probably arguably one of the least stacked, and I just feel like the Leafs will be able to pull ahead. And then when going against the Penguins, that's not like the hardest team to go against in a final. Sure, the Penguins will give our stars a hard time, but ultimately I think they'll be able to get on top of that one for sure. And then moving over to the other half of the bracket, now let's go to the Central Division. Lightning Red Wings. I don't even think I need to explain myself for this one. Reigning champs. They don't even need an introduction. Sure, they don't have Kucherov, but they're still gonna dominate pretty much any team in their way. And then Hurricanes, 3rd seed against Predators, 6th seed. I've got the Hurricanes in this one. I just think we've seen them in the playoffs. We've seen that they have pretty solid depth, and we've just seen the Predators who have been going on a downward spiral over the last couple years, and so I've got to give the edge there to the Hurricanes. Moving on now to an upset here. I've got the Chicago Blackhawks over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Similar story to the Washington Capitals or Penguins. Similar situation. They were Stanley Cup champs a couple years ago, and all their guys are vets, which is a bad thing in regular season, but in the playoffs they really excel. Of course, Taves, Kane, great pairing. They've got pretty solid young guys. Of course, DeBrincat. And I just think they've got the guys to go past the Jackets here, who have kind of got Line A and a bunch of role players, essentially. And then moving on, second seed. This is probably the biggest upset in the whole video. Second seed, Florida Panthers against 7th seed, Dallas Stars. I've got Dallas moving on here. We saw them pull off the miracle that they did in the last year, and I just think that they excel in the playoffs. All their guys rise to the occasion. Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Anton Hudobin, Miro Heiskanen, John Klingberg. They all just rise to the occasion, and I feel like they'd be able to outwork the Panthers in this series. And then moving on to the round of 16, Lightning versus Hurricanes. Lightning, more star power. I've just got to give it to them there. And then Blackhawks, Dallas Stars. Close matchup. I'm going to give the edge to Dallas here, though. They've got a bit more star power, and I just feel like they're a bit quicker, and I think they'll outwork the Blackhawks despite Chicago's good experience in the playoffs in the past. So then in the round, and then in that round, I'll give, since just like last year, Lightning Stars. I've got to give it to Lightning. I know my excuse is always a star power, but it's just it's such a valid excuse. Victor Hedman, arguably the best defenseman in the league. Vasilevsky, probably the best goalie in the league. Excellent forward depth. Bunch of young guys. Braden Point. And then they have old guys like Steven Stamkos who can just... And I just think that as a team, I think they'll be able to go far. And then the final division, the West Division. Knights 1 seed against the Ducks. Knights, of course. Excellent depth. Excellent experience so far. That one will be close. Next up, Minnesota Wild against Arizona. I've got to give this one to the Wild. Better depth, excellent young talent that Minnesota has. Kirill Kaprizov, of course, probably going to win Calder this year. He's been an absolute rock star for them. And trade deadline's coming up in the NHL. We've heard that the Coyotes might make some moves. If they do, I think they'll be able to beat the Wild. If they don't, I think the Wild have an edge on them. And so I'll leave them there. Blues, Kings. I'm going to give this one to the Blues. Great experience. All their guys excel under pressure. Tarasenko, Ryan O'Reilly. Sorry, Tarasenko's not even playing. Ryan O'Reilly. I just feel like they'll be able to push ahead. The Kings don't have much star power. Of course, they have Kopitar. Doughty's been decent this year, but I just think the Blues will be able to pull ahead. And then everyone's favorites to win the Stanley Cup at the beginning of the year, the Colorado Avalanche, I think will absolutely roll the San Jose Sharks. I think it'll be a blowout, so I've got them there. And then round of 8, Knights versus the Wild. I've got Knights here. Once again, they rise to the occasion. They all play really well. They all work hard. Mark Stone's a great example. And all their guys have been very solid this year. They have good depth, good goalies. I just think they'll be able to make it past them easily. And then Avs, Blues. I've got the Avs here. More star power. I think they'll just be able to overwhelm the Blues. Nate McKinnon, that first line is just wicked. And then finally, in this finals, I'm going to give the edge here to the Avalanche. Once again, more star power. I think that the Knights might be able to outwork them, and if they're able to get lucky on some goals, they might be able to pass the Avalanche here, but I just think that on paper, the Avalanche are so good, and I just feel like we haven't really seen them reach their prime yet, and I think they'll excel in this round. And then in this side, the finals are between the Lightning and the Avalanche. And then in this one, I'm going to give it to the Lightning. Stars versus star power versus star power. I've got to give the edge to Lightning. More experience. Experience always experience always kind of shows in the playoffs, and I feel like the Avs, their young guys might crack under pressure against such a good team like the Lightning, and so I've got the Lightning giving it a blue finals. But ultimately, even though I'm a Leafs fan and even though I'm wearing all blue, I've got to give it to the other blue team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, going back to back. I just feel like they're like, how do I explain it? Their depth is just amazing. Their coaching is good. They have better goaltenders, equal to better defenders, and then they're probably around equal for forwards. But then, of course, when you add the experience that Tampa has, you've just got to say that they're going to beat the Leafs. And so, ultimately, our NHL March Madness champions are going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. It took a lot of time and effort to make, so if you enjoyed, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe with post notifications on. And with all that being said, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.